Frederick Moores was a small man, short, thin, nervous. He had narrow blue eyes, slightly shaggy dark hair, and a beard dusted with cigarette ash. He smoked constantly, those aromatic Egyptian cigarettes, and he paced as he told his story. He was a recent immigrant from Vienna, and his English was slow, stumbling enough that the police brought in an interpreter.
"Oh, I wish I spoke English better,"
he exclaimed during the initial police interview, but the officers were able to piece together the story anyway. He'd come over from Austria in early 1914, wanting to work in medicine. He'd found a job as an orderly at the German Odd Fellows Home in Yonkers. The home, a refuge for 250 foundlings and 100 elderly pensioners, paid only a little, $18 a month plus room and board, but allowed Moores to practice his medical interests. He was soon
made practically a nurse because the men over me realized that I knew something about nursing and was better educated than most orderlies.
Shortly later, he said, the superintendent asked him to take on another job, to help with the removal of some of the sickliest and costliest residents. In the interview room, Moores shrugged, lit another cigarette, and continued. The superintendent was a bully, he'd realized, and it was best to do what the man wanted. But this assignment, he explained carefully, didn't particularly bother him.
It was really a kind-hearted thing to do. They were all in great pain, and that could not be relieved. There was no chance for them. Also, they were not pleasant physically or mentally to themselves or to anyone else.
The only challenge was deciding how to carry out the assignment. After reviewing the possibilities, he decided that poison was the obvious answer. In a place where people were old and unwell, it would be easy enough to make it look as if their time had simply come. The home's nursing dispensary held a witch's closet of poisons, watched over by one of the young orphans earning her keep. There were bottles filled with sugar of lead, those silvery crystals used to treat skin rashes, painkillers such as codeine, morphine, and powdered opium, atropine, an extract from the nightshade plant for speeding up a slowing heart, sweet-scented chloroform for anesthesia, white powdery arsenic for curing everything from syphilis to psoriasis, strychnine for energy tonics, and mercury for infections. The only question was which would best suit his purpose. Moores first tried arsenic, but the elderly man selected for the experiment did not die in an orderly fashion. He was messily sick, then developed a kind of creeping paralysis, living on for several miserable days. Moores found himself on constant, exhausting nursing duty. It was horrible, he said, both for the victim and for himself. They buried the man, whatever his name was, he didn't remember, with great relief. He went back to the dispensary. It was maybe the smell that decided him, that sweet chemical sting in the air, that sugary, seductive promise. He smiled at the detectives and told them why he'd been so pleased with his next choice.
"When you give an old person chloroform, it's like putting a child to sleep.